Hello, everybody. This is Charles Newton here again with Conversations. I have my good friend Shane Morrow here. The Mothership Connection is here.
Oh Lord!
I mean, you're looking good today. You
Thank you.
have on your crushed velvet.
Yeah, I said to myself when I woke up this morning, I knew I was sitting down with the iconic figure of Greater Chattanooga and beyond, along with his beautiful wife. How does one dress? How does one prepare themselves for an interview,
Listen to you.
conversation, with someone who knows much more than I ever will know? And I said, well, let me start off by wearing something a little neutral. Then I said, well, no, be real. I said, let me shave my head. I said, maybe if I look like my mentor of sorts, I can be able to get the same flavor. I don't get opportunities to have really great conversations. You are one of the rare individuals in this city that I get a real chance to have great conversations. And for that, I thank you for that.
Well, we are honored to have you here in
you.
our presence. So I just want my audience, the families and people that I work with weekly, who may not know you. Tell us a little something about yourself, where you're from, your background, your upbringing.
Oh gosh.
Who is Shane Morrow?
Oh Lord. Well, on a rainy night, back in 1950. I'm born and raised in Connecticut.
Okay.
I'm born and raised in the late '60s. Born in the late '60s, let's just state. Came from a family that was very strong-minded and aware of self. Aware of self, and that's how I was raised, pretty much. I'm an only child. What folks don't know that I would share openly, my father was a Black Panther.
Okay.
I don't share that a lot, because when I do, I think it's bad enough that I walk around as a big Black person. So when I say
in the
deep South, and be like, okay, by the way, my dad was a Black Panther, and automatically they're like, okay, run. No, but my dad was a Black Panther. Was shot and killed just 2 or 3 months before I was born, in Connecticut. My mom came from a very prominent family of the Morrows and hid me. True story, but hid me for a couple of months. So I was coming whether they liked it or not. But the blessing was that I had a family that allowed me to be me and allowed me to be able to explore my gifts and my talents. And so I come from 6 generations of piano players. Did not know that gift was given from our higher power and also from my family. Right. Would be something that I still do to this day.
Right. And so, did you grow up in the church, man?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It was church bound. It was church bound. There was nothing like going to church on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, that sounds like I don't know what type of ministry is that. Were you reared in? Was it?
Well, it was Baptist.
Holiness. Oh, it was Baptist.
It was Baptist. My great grandmother was one of the pillars of the one particular church in Connecticut.
Okay.
And since she's been there, and the Morrow clan have been there so long, it was just a requirement, that I had to be there for Bible study. I had to be there for our choir rehearsals. I had to do my piano lessons within the church. Okay. And of course, I had to be at church. Right. So that was 4 days out of the week.
Did you perform? I'm pretty sure you performed in it.
Yeah, it's funny. My grandmother said to me, my great grandmother, has stated to me the following: you will learn this piano because it's part of your heritage. It's something that we cannot make any type of bigger contribution to your life than this gift. Also, again, it's a part of your family heritage. You will carry this.
That's powerful.
Number 2, she said, it will always keep you a job. Yeah. Always keep you a job. And mind you, this was a woman that was born and raised out of Kentucky. Was a teacher in Kentucky, married her student, and then moved to Connecticut. We'll talk about that story one time later. Lastly, she said, as I just mentioned, keep me a job. And lastly, she said, it will keep you still And I thought at that particular time that keeping still that, I probably had ADHD, just running around, but it was keeping me still because it brought me peace.
Mm.
So no matter what was going on in life, I can always go back to that gift, which was my connection to my higher power.
Yeah, yeah.
And it kept me still.
That's so awesome. So, your education, were you educated?
Well,
it's
funny. I tell folks, I purposely try to not mention, but I'll mention another today, about education simply because I always share with some folks. I can tell you about my degrees. I can tell you I've been blessed to go to NYU. I can tell you that I've traveled the world. But does that really, for some of my targeted folks here that I work with, does that even matter to them? I always say that the impact that I can be able to provide is what I bring to the table at that particular moment.
It may not matter to them, but it matters.
Oh, trust. I get it.
It matters.
I get it. I think that that's why I don't come to the parties. They don't get invited nowhere. I'm always bucking the system. But no, all jokes aside, is that I was really, really blessed to be able to go to a lot of schools. Being an only child, let me go backwards. They spent a lot of energy on me, simply because there were no others. So being the first great-grandchild, managing this gift that at times I didn't think I deserved or wanted, but had to. So outside of that, going to college, I went to NYU. I can share a funny story later on how I got here through NYU. But I will say that I felt as if, as I was going to look up and focus on my gift and arts development, what really called to me was social services. I have a grandmother that was a very prominent politician in Connecticut, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I remember canvassing the streets with her, coming out of our home and canvassing the streets with some folks I thought I would never meet. And it's a really interesting storytelling, from walking into, which she had no fear, walking into the liquor store, walking into the local laundromats, trying to find out what the needs of the people were. Not trying to go just to church and hear that aspect of the need, but going to the folks that weren't coming to the church.
Right.
So that always kept with me, about being of service.
Yeah.
And truly trying to listen to the voices that we normally would not hear, because those were the ones that needed the most help, because they didn't have outlets that they could be able to turn to. And I thought that would always, for me, that always has manifested in the work that I've done to this day.
Okay.
Trying to make sure that we're listening to the voices that are being heard.
That's a lot of things you're saying in the album that I want to go back
I'm
to.
sorry.
But it's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, because it's just making me think about perception, and in doing the work, the type of work that you do. Let's share with the audience the things that you do, because you do so much here in our region. You've even taken a group to China to perform, and so you have not expanded your own borders, but you have expanded the borders of those who work with you. And I think that's a powerful thing. Let's share with people what you've done. I know you started off as Jazzanuga, now you're Rise. Tell us a little bit about the origin of Jazzanuga and how you have evolved over the past few years.
I had to think about it. I had to think about, what version am I going to share to my mentor? And I'm going to share the truth. The truth of the matter, all jokes aside, is that when I got down here in Chattanooga, I realized there was a wealth of brilliant talent. A city with a huge cultural history. But how is it being celebrated? How is it being articulated to everyone, not just folks of color, but to everyone, to really value this history? Somewhat broken, but there's still a history here that can be celebrated. So I got here and I said to myself, let's get into the arts, let's get into culture. Let me figure out what to do. So I went to a local theater company here.
Yeah, what brought you here before you go?
Oh, what brought me here was cheapness. No,
But it didn't have anything to do with that artist relocation project?
Totally not.
Okay.
Totally not. And when I found out about it, it made me better. I'm like, I could have got $2. No, all jokes aside, what got me here in 2003 is that I followed my partner, James McKissick, here. And so that definitely got me in the area. Also, my mom had just moved to the South. Very comfortable, but she lives in Stone Mountain area. And I just knew that I wanted to be close, but not that close. So I realized that one of the spots was comfortable for me, and doing a little research was watching this city with so much history grow so quickly. And I thought I wanted to be part of that process.
Oh, okay.
So Chattanooga it was. And again, James lived in Cleveland, Tennessee. So we thought that having Chattanooga, Tennessee, and also raising kids would be the place to be. With that all being said, I realized that I wanted to go into the avenues of arts and culture here to figure out more about the city. And I thought the best way of doing that is to actively engage in some productions and events that are happening. And volunteerism. I said I can volunteer spots. I went to a local theater company here. At that time, was doing a production of Raisin in the Sun, 2004. An audition, got into the show. Great production. Got to meet a lot of people during that process, and kind of learning more about the landscape here for arts and culture. When the project was over, this particular theater company has said, okay, well, you can audition for some more, because I said, when's the next upcoming shows, especially the ones for folks of color? And they said, we're colorblind. And I couldn't understand what that meant. Knew what it kind of meant, but I needed to hear how it was defined here in Chattanooga. So I was told that they will only pick one black show at that particular time. They usually one black show a year. So I said, black as in what? So they said black as in a black author, black things. So in other words, if I wanted to see something like The Wiz, that wasn't on the roster until next year. That's how they did shows. And I said, well, that's it. That's it. How do we create these showcase platforms for our communities to be able to celebrate culture, but also the same celebrate the gifts and talents? Chattanooga started with me going to the Hunter and starting a cultural bridge of sorts, doing a Black History Month celebration. They didn't do a musical celebration of it. So they allowed me to go ahead and bring folks together to start doing a Black History Month show. That in turn developed this rapport to start celebrating jazz. So all of this came out of pocket. So, and I say pocket out of my pocket, financially, and also learning more about this huge community of amazing, talented individuals. So we, how the young ones say, put them on blast. And we create this showcase to be able to highlight all these gifts.
Okay.
So that started the idea of Chattanooga and celebrating jazz. It wasn't until the third or fourth year when we were approached by a local foundation and said, we've seen what you've done. Sit down, let's talk. And at that particular time, that we were really fortunate because we were able to show them some measurable outcomes and things not just outside those main events, which were the yearly celebration of jazz, which occurred in April. April, it happens to be Jazz Appreciation Month. We're able to do some other program and projects throughout the city as well. Some educational programs like teaching piano to seniors, Started a youth academy. All this was happening in the first 3 years of the forming of Jazz Anuka. So I said to myself, let's continue with this. So we went ahead and went under the Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga to be our fiscal sponsor. And then it was in 2014, 2015, we went ahead and got our 501c3. So
Okay.
we kind of knew. And I say new is that we officially got the 501c3 in 2015. From there, we changed our name to Rise back in 2019, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But bottom line, that we've been here on paper for a minute.
Right.
But we officially got on paper back in 2015.
Well, you did a lot of concerts, free concerts.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Just think about something, we all deserve high quality arts programming. All of the community. Also, these free concerts were opportunities, Charlie, as you know, to bring people from all different type of backgrounds to come together just to have conversation. We can agree to disagree on many things.
Yeah.
But there's something about the power of the arts that brings us together to have those moments to have conversations. That's how I viewed it. Some other folks viewed it as, oh my gosh, you're bringing Big Frida. No, it wasn't about
I had never heard of Big Frida.
Really?
But I had never heard of, well, because, I don't get out much. But I was there, and I tell you, she turned it out.
I was just shocked too.
I felt like I was, back in the day, before I was really saved and everything. She did everything.
Oh yeah, you literally did everything. It reminded me when I had hair.
So, and I think she was here as she was blowing up, or right before she really blew up, or something like that, just before. So
We've been very
had a
fortunate.
chance to see
Yeah.
something of that caliber before the world received her.
Thank you. It's the same. Back in 2014, 15, we brought Layla Hathaway, Gregory Porter. Oh my gosh, that we've had folks that just were getting ready to go to their next level of their artistry. And to see Layla Hathaway before she got her first Grammy. Gregory Porter, now that is worldwide.
Right.
But I remember him picking him up at the airport, bringing him here to Chattanooga. This is amazing. Our Take 6. We've had, so far, we've been very fortunate to have over 60 to 70 acts, national acts, that we brought here for free concerts. Not a lot of folks can say that.
That's powerful.
But we also made sure every time that we brought somebody, that we matched them up with a local artist. I think one of the biggest parts of doing the work is to see the people you work with grow. And we were celebrated by Usher, that came in to do a concert, a free concert. A lot of people didn't know he was coming to do the concert, but he also was coming to celebrate some of the local arts programming. And we were one that was chosen by his team to celebrate. But what a lot of people don't know is that he heard this young man perform during the time he came and visited Jazz Anuka. And that was Jalil Muhammad, who was a saxophone player, went a part of our program, and went to Brainerd. That particular opportunity gave him, I should say, meeting with Usher, and Usher just being blown away from the talent. He brought that young man on stage.
Yeah.
That changed his life, literally changed his life. He is currently right now living in China. His full gig is nothing but music. To have an opportunity to sit there and perform with, get the networking capabilities of an international artist, it's amazing.
That's powerful.
Amazing. So I thank Usher for the opportunity. I continue to thank him because he's played a huge part behind the scenes of some of the work that we have done over the years, for just giving us funding, but also just giving us that support as well.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. So recently, you moved into East Chattanooga.
Yes.
And tell us what's going on. What's happening in East Chattanooga?
Man. Charlie, I said to myself, what is the next steps for this entity? What is this entity? You know, we went from name change, Chattanooga to Rise. Why? Because I wanted people to know my very first interview that I did here was with Barry Corder from the Times Free Press. And I never forget what he said to me, what's Chattanooga? And I was like, Chattanooga is what the community needs for it to be.
Wow. That's a good answer. Powerful.
And I didn't know it then. I was just nervous. But I allowed the spirit. Let me get real, then I'll let it go. I allowed the spirit to dictate and to say, answer this question.
Wow.
Because what we're getting ready to give to this community is going to be beyond anything they can ask you. They're going to see it to believe it. Because I'm a firm believer, without getting very emotional, this is not a Shane thing. It never was. This is not an individual's task. This mission is from our higher power. I tell folks, I don't get paid. I don't need to get paid. My gift is when you get one child that comes to you and says, thank you, and you know, one child that comes to you and says, thank you, or it's that grandmother that has been raising her grandchildren, comes to an event and says, I never thought I could walk in this building because I never got invited before.
Yeah.
That to me stays with me. And one of the events, I know it's not answering your question, but it hit my spirit.
Just talk.
One of the events that we did was at the Hunter Museum that has been very open for so many folks. But perhaps the messaging didn't reach out to all the masses here inside Chattanooga. We were able to partner with them to do a particular Black History event. And this grandmother from the West Side brought her 3 grandkids. She followed me to approach me at the end of the event and said, I need to say something to you. Now, I was so worried because I was like, oh, Lord, what happened? Did somebody treat her unkindly? Did somebody say something to her children? For her to say, I have walked by here, I looked up here and never thought I could be up in here. And I get very emotional with that. Because to me, what we do is powerful. And it's so hard to articulate what we do and how we do it.
See, for me, those are the metrics.
Yeah.
That right there.
Yes.
And for what we do, I'm standing on that.
Yeah.
When we're asked to quantify what we do.
Yes.
You know, on forms or whatever, reports or whatever, you know. I said, the child had art for 2 hours. I mean, art changed my life.
Right.
And I thought we were supposed to be supporting the arts.
Period.
For everyone, period, right? So, go ahead. I'm sorry, but I just want to stop right there because I've drawn a line in the sand, personally. I don't get a lot of funding. But that line is a hard line in the sand.
But I think that it's so necessary, and I think that we have to stand on the foundation that's built for us. I can't
You sound like you're preaching now, though.
Oh, Lord.
You say that? The foundation that's built for us. Go ahead.
I think that I'm the wiser that I'm getting good counsel is that I realize over the years the foundation that we stand on is ours. Period. Standing on other folks' foundations doesn't work.
I love this.
And I found that out the hard way. The hard way. I think that once you solidify your base and you say that this is welcoming for all, but there is a targeted population that I have to reach.
Right.
I've been blessed. Hummanity, Tennessee has blessed me with dollars to open up a library that's only for Black and Latino authors. When I opened it up, people were astonished. I'm like, I'm giving the books away. There are free-to-use libraries, the little libraries that they call them, throughout the city that we own. That I'm putting free books in there. I don't share to everyone where they're at because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through back in COVID times when we put Black Lives Matter on the street and I got death threats. I don't want anyone to have to worry about whether or not that the left wing, right wing, the wings come to their homes trying to upset your home life because they have a disagreement about how you want to display your art. I just realized when we bought this building, I shared with funders and others. There's this church. There's this church on the east side of town, and y'all call it East Side. Now, when I did my research,
East Chattanooga.
Right? And they say East Chattanooga. Well, I said, well, East Chattanooga supposed to be pretty large because we go from East Lake to East. I digress.
Yeah.
So, because when I started doing some research, and some folks of color told me, no, we've called this a whole nother area. So with this being said, I mean, not knowing that at the particular time, there was a church for sale, 15,000 square foot church in the East Chattanooga area. And I decided that we needed to get this building, not for us to move in and feel that, we can have this building to just focus on the accomplishments of an organization. I got this building because I realized that we need to put more investment in the communities that we live in, period. Not everything can be downtown. And I can't force everyone from other areas. And I've been blessed to do these free concerts downtown, but why can't I go into the neighborhoods where folks live who can't get downtown and let's celebrate there? What's wrong with some downtown folks going over to East Chattanooga? So got this place, and I was told by some that this was not the best investment. And I said, I clearly hear you, but I'm getting this building. It has already been
it's not your decision,
right? At all, and I'm getting this building. So with a little bit of prayer, a lot of confirmation of praying with others. Bottom line, that we were able to get this building, and we signed the papers. Charlie and I laughed. We signed the papers December 19th of 2020. That building has been fully remodeled, fully paid for, project done, and we are now going to our second year. That building was actually finished and done in February of 21. No, February of 22. We started working with Tucker Build Construction, and shout out to the man who saw the vision with me, which was Jeff Cannon, that donated his time, his energy, to help me get that building where it was at. It was definitely dilapidated, but we're at a place now that is open for all. We're now hosting events and services created by our local creative community. And the funny part I would tell folks that I'm proud about the most, Charlie, is that if you have an idea and it makes sense and it helps the community, We'll let you host here for free. Host here for free. I'm giving you free space. Oh, you're an entrepreneur. Well, guess what? We got a creative entrepreneurship program. 3 tiers of it. That from 8 to 10 weeks, you have a class that gives you an actual mentor. You work alongside of a mentor to help you with your business plan. I also have hired the strategy company to help you work out and hopefully successfully look at your goals and make sure they're attainable. And I'm giving you close to $1,000 after the program, so you can at least have a website.
With that, we need to make sure. What number should they call? And we'll make sure that we'll post that as well.
Oh, okay.
Your contact for this information.
Call me now.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful.
I tell folks, go to our website. There'll be more information there as I kick this support table.
No problem.
And go to our website, which is Rise Child. Again, Rise, R-I-S-E, Child, CHA.org. Call 423-653-9434. That's my personal number. I do that simply because I want to dispel the barriers that we have. And when I say creative entrepreneurship, if I get a chance quickly to talk about it, creative entrepreneurship it's defined in many different ways. If you are a baker, you are a creator. If you do nails, you're an artist. I think that we can be able to open up how we define creative entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs of color and women, to give them these opportunities for growth. I think that with the proper training and the opportunity to be trained for their small business concepts and ideas, but also in the same breath, to get them more actively involved inside of the world of arts and culture, we'll have a better chance, hopefully, to be able to share more of our history and our culture to the whole community that sometimes is just not getting it. I would love to be able to say to you, Charlie, here's 2 women, and I know they're visual artists because they got to, this is what they do. They're saying to me, they're nail salon folks, just whatever. They're canvassing people's nails.
Right.
But they need a little more of the history. So maybe they got
Also foundational things that would take their nail polishing to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something that happened to me.
Please.
There was a time when I did portraits, pastel portraits, quick portraits of people. And I did that for years at festivals and things like that. That's how I made my living. So 30 years I did that, thousands and thousands of portraits. But there came a time when I needed a face painter for we was doing a festival, probably the one that we did in this building, but for kids. So we didn't have a face painter, so I decided, okay, I'll be the face painter today. Man, I loved it. I mean, I loved how to paint. This is better than canvas, you know. Then I went and did all this research on face painting and what the theater, the type of paint that they use. I went out and bought all this stuff, right? Just said, okay, I'm going to set up at the aquarium and do some face painting for me. It was just basically for me. Charge $3 or $5. It was just something like that, right? Yeah, I love paint. I love painting children's faces. See, I can't even explain why I love it. I think it's more about the art, the paint, the skin, and the transformation. All of a sudden, the theater comes into play now, and so all the arts began to come together. I will mention that when I first met Iantha, I think this was in the 80s, I actually did a thing in London with NATO. And the whole idea was to bring all the arts together and then to do a performance. And we did, it was real. We had magic, everything, you know. And I found out how all the arts are truly related.
Yes.
And can be transferred.
Yes.
You know. So that's basically what you're doing. It's really an Eastern way of thinking. And when you was telling me about the idea of a person who does nail being an artist, create. What do you call it? Creative what?
It's creative entrepreneur.
Yeah, creative entrepreneur. That's the Chinese have this word called seafood, and if they call you a seafood, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a great martial artist. It means that whatever you're doing, you may be a baker, but you are an excellent baker. You put everything. You become a master baker. So or you can drive a cab really well. You can find all the places that you're trying to go. Now you're an artist because you really have, and this is what I'm pushing in our classes, and I'm trying to push this with our teachers: integrity. The integrity of the arts. See, for me, art is everything in my life.
Yes.
And if it's going to be everything, I have to give it my all. And the question is, to a lot of artists here in Chattanooga, are you giving this your all? That's where I'm at now. So do you know everything about it? Have you read everything about it?
Right.
Have you been everywhere to see it? Have you seen the best? Have you, and I believe Chattanooga, and there are so many. Chattanooga is such, and when I'm saying Chattanooga now, I'm not talking about our current state of this community. I mean the people.
Right.
To me, the people, we are Chattanooga. Incredible artists. Incredible opportunity. I actually see a renaissance.
That's so
But
funny.
without the integrity, there can be no renaissance.
And it won't be consistent.
It won't be worth anything.
It's so funny you say that because as we define the next steps for the city, just in general, I'm looking how they're reimagining, for example, looking at reimagining here in the west side of Chattanooga, how they're reimagining Broad Street.
Right.
They're going to be doing a lot of work there. And I'm like, well, what comes into play with that? Who have you sat down with? I'm saying to the powers that be. Have you had a real conversation with everybody in the community?
And who is the leadership?
Well, right. Well, really.
I mean, really, because what has happened in the past in this nation is that the powers that be, they will get all this money to say that they're sitting down with the community. But my observation is that you sit down and you don't learn from the community. Just because you ask some specific questions so that you can get the answers that you want.
Right, on paper, right.
Doesn't mean that you are hearing the community. I would like to see a handover to the community.
Well, I think that's the whole thing. When you start talking about transformation of power, automatically folks get nervous when you start saying transformation of power, because at the end of the day, what they're trying to reach for. I'm trying to be careful what I say, but you know what? It's all good.
Go ahead. We're talking. We're just talking. Only about 100 people will see this.
That's all right. That's all right. Because
at the end of the month, it might be about 1,500.
Well, and it's funny because somebody's going to go back and say, you know what, they're right. That transformation of power needs to occur more often. It needs to happen, period. And we need to make it happen. We, within side of the artists of
yes
color.
But what is true collaboration?
Well, see, we don't know how to define collaboration. We still have issues because we put collaboration here. In my personal opinion and experience with my own, we have put collaboration with money. I need to collaborate with this person so I can get dollars. Versus that, I need to collaborate with this individual to improve my community.
Right.
And there is a difference.
It is.
If we're seeking the dollar's quick, but it's not, and it goes back to what I was trying to say before, but the broader thing, but it's not sustainable.
No.
It's easy to get a quick $5 on a weak foundation. It's hard to get $500 on a strong foundation that you know is going to build. Because that's a true investment. That's a true investment from the powers that be. how do you explain your worth and your work? And I think that this is where we have, I'm grassroots. I don't mind being in the weeds. I remember one time someone told me I don't like working in the weeds. I said, well, the weeds is us.
Well, I grew up in the weeds, so.
It's just that simple.
And
We have another colleague, we have another friend of ours that said, you came from Bridgeport. Bridgeport's not that, not as better or probably just as bad as Chattanooga. I said, yeah, but the difference is that we have money. It would go to the levels.
Right.
Here, one of the biggest issues, and also we had folks that wanted to collaborate. Our town suffers because we don't collectively recognize that collaboration is more than just dollars. We have a lot of black and brown organizations out here.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm frustrated with, and why a lot of meetings I don't want to go to anymore, basically, because it's just a waste of time to make certain entities look good. Because I don't feel, like, why invite me to a meeting if you're going to have me competing with the Hunter Museum or the Creative Discovery Museum?
Mm-hmm.
They do great work,
yeah,
but they're not doing what I'm doing, nor can they. Because they didn't grow up.
Right.
They didn't have my life. So there's no way they can do what I do. Because they don't know us. And I'm sick and tired of these large entities coming to us as if they have all the answers. When, look, I know my culture and my history. I know what we need. I know what we should do to perpetuate who we are. And I don't think that I'm on a lower level because we have less money. I have kids, man, 9 and 10 years old that can out-paint a lot of artists exhibiting here in the major galleries here. 9, am I telling the truth, I am?
Yeah.
9
Real
and
talk.
10 years
Real
old.
talk.
On high levels, No, look, we have some. You are a prime example. You and Rick, you and Rick and others like you guys. Man, you can write a play, write a cantata. You can put a whole performance together. You can design. You can do all this stuff, man, but yet you're not really, to me, in my opinion, not really celebrated so that you can really be all that you can be here in our community. The community is suffering because those up on the hill think that they know what art is.
Yeah. Agree.
And they're going to dictate to us what our...
But it saddens me.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want to add to that. It saddens me because what has been the scapegoat? I'll say scapegoat.
Okay.
What has been the scapegoat is that, well, y'all got a cultural center. Y'all got a cultural center. Where can your cultural center?
Okay, let me jump in right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's called racism.
Mm-hmm.
That's called white supremacy. Okay? That's of people thinking that we are somehow a different race, not knowing that we're all God's children. There's someone in the Bible Belt who go to church every Sunday who think that somehow that their lack of melanin, their lack makes them superior. They can't articulate that, but they live it.
Yeah, they live it every
They live it every day. They will never admit that. But
it will fight you tooth and nail.
But they are missing out on. This city is missing out on. Well, America, it's nationwide. The West is missing out on evolving because of their that we are one. We are one on this planet. And the misunderstanding of that is what's killing us all right now. It's destroying our cities, destroying our neighborhoods, destroying our communities, destroying our health. It's destroying our weather. It's destroying everything because we don't understand that by the grace of God go I.
But I think that what needs to happen is that, and this is awful to say, and I'm just going to say it, sometimes you got to let it burn.
Oh,
So,
let it burn.
let it burn. Sometimes you got to let it burn because